Welcome to another round of Prem and Proper here on SDH. We'll take you through the Premier League, get you ready for Matchweek 14, let you know what's going on. Remember, teams played in the midweek in European competitions, so we'll see how the Christmas side dishes are affected when it comes to the matchups coming up in short order. We'll always have our weekly 3D. We'll have Maddie cruising through the Prem toward the end of the show, and we'll get you ready for everything going on this weekend as we go. So, in a no-dilly, no-dally zone, as we traditionally are, what we'll do is we'll go backward before we go forward. Let you know what happened last week in the Premier League, as we're only a couple of weeks away from festive fixtures where they come fast and furious. And we try to figure out how we can get programming squared away when it comes to the Premier League with 3 games in 7 days and all that kind of stuff. So, results last time out. On the board. It was a very, very busy Saturday. Manchester City and Liverpool, a 1-1 draw at a plus 330. Bournemouth, a big win on the road at Sheffield United, winning 3-1 at Bramall Lane at a plus 120. Brighton, crazy match, 5-goal thriller, 3-2 winners over Nottingham Forest at City Ground at a plus 108. Newcastle, the big result on the week at a plus 168, 4-1 winners over Chelsea. Luton gets the win at Kenilworth Road at home against Crystal Palace, 2-1 at a plus 301. West Ham winners over Burnley at Turf Moor at a plus 116. Arsenal shuts out Brentford 1-0 at G-Tech at a minus 161. 2 matches on your Sunday. Villa over Spurs by the final of 2-1. Manchester at a plus 156. And at a plus 167, Manchester United beats Everton by the final of 3-0. Everybody still is remarking about the Garnacho bicycle kick. 3-0 winners, Manchester United, a big win for them. And then the craziness with Fulham and Wolves at a plus 141. 3 penalties called in the second half, the last one at 90 plus 4. And it brought up issues with VAR once again and the officiating in the PGMOL. 5-goal thriller, Fulham gets full points by the final of 3-2. So that sets up your standings. And after the previous match week, we've got the 3 groups that we always like to talk about. They're starting to sort themselves out here. Arsenal at 30 points. They are a point ahead of Manchester City at 29. Manchester City has drawn their last 2, the 4-4 thriller with Chelsea, then the 1-1 draw with Liverpool, who is in 3rd place at 28 points, 4 goals ahead of Aston Villa. Those are your European slots. Spurs are in 5th, having lost now 3 in a row at 26 points. Manchester United at 24. Newcastle at 23. Brighton is at 22 points, finally getting off the schneid of 3 draws in a row, getting the win last time out. And West Ham is at 20 points. That gets us to group number 2, which you have teams 10 through 16 separated by 4 points. Chelsea ahead of Brentford at 16 points. Wolves and Crystal Palace still identical records, identical goal difference. Wolves have 5 more goals scored, 18-13. And Fulham, with the same record, has worse goal difference. So basically you have 3 teams at 4, 3, and 6. Wolves and Crystal Palace are ahead of Fulham on goal difference. Therefore, Fulham is in 14th. Crystal Palace has 13 goals scored. Wolves have 18. That's 12, 13, and 14. Nottingham Forest at 3, 4, and 6. They are in 15th place ahead of Bournemouth by 1 point. Bournemouth, by the way, under Iraola, have won 3 of their last 4. Luton with the win. They've hit each column last 3 times out. They're now at 9 points. Sheffield United is in the relegation zone at 5 points. Everton with the 10-point penalty, which they are appealing, and had to tell the Premier League that they were doing so by the end of the week so they can have the case resolved by the end of the calendar year, are in 19th. And Burnley, 1, 1, and 11. Goal difference of minus 22. They've lost 5 in a row. They are at 4 points, and they are last. So let's get you into the conversations for the week. And who are we hearing from? Well, first off, we're hearing from Sean Dyche about what's going on with Everton. Once again, we mentioned that they are appealing the 10-point penalty. Sean Dyche, courtesy of Everton, their own selves, on what's next.
Well, I certainly haven't been told any other than what's happened so far. I think we were stunned. I think football was stunned by the outcome of the 10 points. So who knows what comes next, not just for ourselves, for many others, I would imagine. Because the way it's sounding from the noise out there is that it's not just about us. There'll be others looked at possibly over time. We'll have to wait and see. So the fact of the last situation recently has stunned everyone, including myself. Then who knows what comes next? So we've just got to be ready for what comes next, the best we can.
Manchester United. I know a lot of folks have kind of gravitated toward discussing Andre Onana. We know that Drew will, coming up in short order on the 3D for this week. But our friends at the football show over at Sky Sports, they went and looked at the different Andre Onanas, the one that plays in the European theater versus the one that plays domestically. Here's what they found out.
It doesn't really tell the full story of what we've seen in the Champions League. We referenced some of the errors he's already made it in that competition, conceded 14 goals. That's the most United have ever conceded in a single group stage in the competition. It's actually the most ever conceded by an English club in their first 5 games of a season in the competition. And he's made 2 errors leading directly to goals and conceded 3 goals from shots that have come outside the box. But when you compare that to what he's done in the Premier League, it does feel like he's been settling in fairly well in England. He's kept 5 clean sheets, which is the joint highest alongside Sam Johnson and Nick Pope. Only one goalkeeper has made more saves than his tally of 51. He's been almost faultless when it comes to goals conceded outside the box, errors leading to goals or errors leading to shots. So Erik ten Hag will certainly be backing him to bounce back at Newcastle this weekend.
Well, that is perhaps the key word or phrase, Sam, backing him, because you look at someone like Arsenal and Mikel Arteta talking about, I have 2 number ones and he can switch between Raya and Ramsdale. He does have Altay Bayindir, but you would think he would put his faith in Onana.
Yeah, definitely. I don't see Ten Hag dropping Onana, especially for the fact that, they paid so much money for him. He's come out and backed him so many times when he's made a few errors or when he's low on confidence. And I think if they were to drop him, let's say ahead of the African Cup of Nations, then that would just bring another storyline to United that they don't necessarily need. And if Bayindir doesn't perform to the level that Ten Hag wants, that's going to be another problem that he has. But if Onana does go to the African Cup of Nations and then Bayindir comes in and he's having a good run of games, then you can say, okay, that was a natural change in selection and see what happens there. But I don't see him switching it up anytime soon.
Interesting that point about the Cup of Nations, though, isn't it? That is, as you said, you can justify keeping him if he comes in, has 3 or 4 good games, and you think, well, Onana comes back and waits.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Onana might need just some time out of the limelight a little bit, because it's really tough. Manchester United, one of the biggest clubs in the world. It was a big move. They went from a club legend to a new goalkeeper that is, known for his playing ability, but at the same time, his hands was questionable, and we've seen it this season. Like you look at their record in the Champions League away from home. They've scored 3 away goals in all of their games, and they've come away with 0 points. And for a team like Manchester United, you expect them to at least get 1 win on the road.
Spurs, we mentioned them having lost 3 in a row after their great start of coming out of the blocks, winning 8 and being unbeaten in their first 10. They actually now have an all-injured 11. Once again, our friends at Sky pieced this one together. This is what they're going through right now.
Alfie Whiteman, the goalkeeper, he's out for some time. Ashley Phillips, the defender, is out with an ankle injury. Christian Romero is suspended at the moment. He's back after Sunday's match against Manchester City. Mickey van der Ven, one of the signings of the summer, will be out into the new year after suffering a serious hamstring injury against Chelsea. Ryan Sessegnon has been out all season and no return date yet for him. Rodrigo Bentancur, we've just talked about. Potentially the biggest blow of all, James Maddison. What a start to the season he had for Tottenham and Postecoglou. And so much talk about how Spurs will cope without Harry Kane. Well, he's been absolutely phenomenal alongside Heung-min Son. Pape Sarr with an unspecified injury. Manas Sonneman suffered a serious knee injury over a month ago. Richarlison had groin surgery a couple of weeks ago. And Ivan Perisic, there's talk he might not even play for Spurs again because he'll be out of contract in the summer and he suffered a serious ACL injury. Add all this into the mix, Spurs will be losing Yves Bissouma, Pape Sarr and Heung-min Son for respective African and Asian Cup matches in January. Plenty to ponder for Ange Postecoglou. It's not been a good few weeks, but if you see these injuries there's not a lot he can do at the moment.
Newcastle in the midweek, more handball discussions. Was it a handball? Was it not a handball on Livramento that led to the late penalty, which snatched a historic win possibility from Newcastle's grasp? resulted in a 1-1 draw in the group of death in Champions League. Here's Eddie Howe and Nick Pope on that particular match, what went down, and maybe how to look forward.
Wasn't the right decision. So many things to take into account in that moment. I think the speed first. I mean, it's a ricochet that when it's slowed down looks totally different to the live event. Ball hits his chest first, then comes up, hits his hand. But I don't think his hand's in an unnatural position. I think they're down by his side. He's running, sort of in a running motion. I feel it's a poor decision. I think it was hugely frustrating for us because in that moment you know how little time there is left in the game, but nothing we can do about it now.
In my opinion, obviously not a penalty. It's something that obviously hits his body first and then kind of his elbow, really close proximity. I just don't see how that's a penalty. I played football a long time, watched a lot of games. I think if that's a penalty we're given nowadays, I think it's bad for the game of football.
Yeah, I mean, do you even know what the rules are with those deflection up onto the arms like that, or do you just have to go with it?
I mean, I'm sure the guidelines are if it hits your body and then your arm, it's obviously not a penalty really. Yeah. But obviously, I'm sure them guidelines will be in check tonight.
Courtesy of Newcastle, their own selves. Pep, Manchester City once again. This week they've got a match against Spurs. They'll probably be favored by a big number. And there's a lot of talk going on about Erling Haaland and his relationship with Pep Guardiola. If you ask Pep, courtesy of Manchester City, their own selves, they're cool.
Again? I have to tell you again? The 1,000 minutes, I'm really impressed. Since day one until today, another breaker. Congratulations, and it's a fantastic player. So I told you many times. So we are really, really pleased about him, and of course help us make a good goal in the first half. Always had, even he missed it in the first half, or control or shoot, always is there. So, and how many, 2 or 3 times after score goals, going backwards, regain the ball. We love him.
So he mentioned Spurs and Manchester City. What to look for in this one? Once again, courtesy of our friends at Sky Sports.
When Manchester City won the treble last year, they asked Pep Guardiola in the press conference, what's your aims for next season? He said to score a goal at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. However, this is in Manchester on Sunday, and I imagine most Tottenham fans will be watching it like this, because it's not potentially going to be a good viewing for Spurs with all their injuries. But that's one result there that sticks out. Manchester City 2, Tottenham 3 under Antonio Conte. But it was a phenomenal performance from Harry Kane. Of course, no Harry Kane for Tottenham on Sunday. Have Spurs got any hope, gents? Any at all? Any percentage? Anything?
Sure. I think there's definitely some sort of percent. It's going to be a very, very tough game for them, though, that's for sure. And look, maybe something will go their way. We'll see.
2 notes from Arsenal, the league leaders, as we close things out for this week. Some injuries have forced some changes in the lineup, which meant that Leandro Trossard has had to play in the midfield more often than not, and more often than what he's used to, especially in this system under Mikel Arteta. Courtesy of Arsenal, their own selves, what he thinks about it right here.
On that midfield position you played on Saturday, the club has sort of struggled since Granit left to find someone there. I think Kai's played there, Dex played there, Emil. Do you feel like that's a position you could nail down if you got sort of chance to play there regularly?
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, it's a position I can handle as well. Playing it now there as well in my Belgium national team. So, yeah, if I can get a run, it's different as well. But like I said, I need to be switched on because it can change every week. It's also based on a game plan. Not every team plays the same system, and I think the manager, thinks a lot on those things as well. So, it's up to me to just keep going and pushing to have game time.
And then some injury news to wrap up. Once again, hearing from Mikel Arteta. Here's your update on Fabio Vieira.
Got a problem?
Yeah, we've got a problem with him. Yeah, he's been having some discomfort, and we tried to have some conservative treatment with him, and he wasn't improving, and we sent him to see a specialist, and the advice was to get our operation done in his groin, and we did that yesterday. Yesterday, Monday. Yeah, and we expect him to be out for weeks now.
So not again this side of the break.
We don't expect him to do that. Let's see how he evolves, and obviously the job it was done yesterday, so we're going to have to wait and see. But it will take weeks, I think.
And then Ben White eventually joined, but was working by himself, it seems, certainly from what we could see.
Yes, and he trained the day before the Brentford game, and he was feeling good, and I think he's available, and he will be available, and that's very good news for us.
Got a problem?
Yeah, we've got a problem with him. Yeah, he's been having some discomfort, and we tried to have some conservative treatment with him, and he wasn't improving, and we sent him to see a specialist, and the advice was to get our operation done in his groin, and we did that yesterday. Yesterday, Monday, yeah. And we expect him to be out for weeks now.
So not again this side of.
So that sets us up for our friends, and let you know what they think about what's going on. First off, we got to go 3D because of the frustration level of Drew Dickinson. I sensed it in the DMs that he was sending me this week, especially after the craziness in European play. So here is your 3D. Thank you, Joey.
3D. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy holidays, and welcome to this week's 3D. Last week's game surely did not disappoint, and yet here we are once again. We've got quite the weekend of Premier League matchups coming to you. But before we discuss any of those, let's chat about the last 7 days. Well, the last 5 to 6 days of Manchester United Football Club. What started out as a wonderful week. Of course, I'm talking about the 3-0 defeat at Everton. Just absolutely put it on Everton at Goodison Park. It was a great win for United. 3 more points, of course. But let's be honest, the only thing people are talking about from that game is the unbelievable Alejandro Garnacho bicycle kick in the 3rd minute. Oh my gosh. Honestly, I still cannot believe it. The cross comes in from the right side from Diogo Dalot, and with just absolute perfect form, perfect technique, Garnacho completely stuns, not just all of us, but stuns Jordan Pickford as the ball torpedoes right into the top right corner. Just absolutely fantastic goal. Nothing short of extraordinary. Also have to mention, like I said, 3-0 victory. We saw Marcus Rashford get back on the score sheet. Thank you to the captain, Bruno Fernandes, handing off the penalty kick duty to Marcus, who desperately needs some sort of confidence. So putting the ball in the back of the net, just like we know Marcus can from a penalty kick, was so good to see, especially see him smiling again. And of course, we see, is this 2017 again? Anthony Martial back on the score sheet. Things were looking good for United to start out the week. And then, I'll try and make this brief. Once again, another absolute blunder in the Champions League from Manchester United. And most importantly, from Andres Onana. 3 mistakes from Onana led to all 3 of the Galatasaray goals. At one point, United were up 2-0. Garnacho in the 11th, Bruno in the 18th. And then, as my friend sends me a text and says, here we go. Absolutely unacceptable, from Onana. This is the 4th out of the 5 games that United have played in the Champions League that he has cost us. It's becoming, almost a joke at this point. Free kick from Hakim Ziyech just goes right through the United wall, which was an absolute blunder, to say the least. Galatasaray was able to put 2 men on the wall. Onana, who was standing opposite side of the wall, just in perfect position, for some reason moves as the ball is touched, and the ball goes right into the corner and almost into the exact direct spot that he was standing in. The other goal, another free kick goal from Ziyech, right into his hands. Really an embarrassing non-save from Onana at that point. And then he gets beat near post for the 3rd goal. Like I said, United were up 2-0 at one point, and McTominay scores in the second half to put United up 3-1 in the 55th minute. And Galatasaray just took advantage of I don't really understand Andres Onana, statistically one of the best goalkeepers ever in Champions League last season. And now this season, statistically, arguably the worst goalkeeper in Champions League history. Onana needs to improve. United have scored 10 away goals in Champions League and have won absolutely 0. So he needs to improve immediately, or, let's be honest, it's time to be dropped, plain and simple. We'll move on from there. Unfortunately, the week doesn't get any easier for United, as Saturday they traveled to Newcastle for a really, really, really big matchup. Erik ten Hag has United playing very well in the Champions League, or excuse me, he has United playing very well in the Premier League. Dropped one game, I believe, in the last 6, and that one was that 3-0 defeat at the hands of Manchester City. I expect a great game. Newcastle, great team. Eddie Howe has them absolutely, he's coaching them very well. Obviously, I'm hoping for 3 points, but I smell a draw from St. James Park on Saturday at 3 p.m. here Eastern Standard Time. On to the rest of the Premier League. I'll save my Manchester United woes for tomorrow. Like I said, hoping for a victory, but we'll move on to the rest of the league. The top 4, very, very tight. Arsenal, Manchester City, Liverpool, Aston Villa, in that order. All four of those teams separated by only 2 points. Arsenal, of course, with 30 points at the top of the league. Arsenal, who host Wolves this weekend. Manchester City have a showdown at the Etihad with Tottenham. And Liverpool welcome Fulham to Anfield. And to round out the top 4, Unai Emery have Aston Villa absolutely flying. They travel to bottom of the league, Bournemouth. And can't go a week without talking about our battle at the bottom. This week it's Burnley welcoming Sheffield United. The bottom 3 is just as exciting as the top 4. You see Sheffield United, Everton, Burnley in that order, all separated by 1 point. Just fascinating, very fun crazy to talk about how the relegation battle is just as exciting as the top 4. Usually at this point in the season, City are completely running away with it. And like I said earlier, top 4 are separated by 2 points, bottom 3 separated by 1 point. So this weekend should not disappoint. It's going to be very, very, very fascinating. I cannot wait for a lot of these matchups. That's for sure. Well, that's going to be it for me this week. Thank you so much for listening to the Drew Dickinson diatribe. Easy for me to say. Thanks everybody who's soccer down here for having me on this week. Have a great weekend, everyone. We will talk to everyone next week. Thank you so much. We will hope for a United victory. Won't cross my fingers. But like I said, thanks so much, and we'll speak to everyone next week.
And not to be outdone, once again, Newcastle having to deal with injuries themselves. Right now, 7th in the table, 7-2-4. Goal difference is still top 5 in the league, really top 4 in the league. 31 goals scored on the season puts them 3rd in offense. So here's Maddie as she cruises through the Prem.
Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be back, talking about Newcastle, which, this past week, it was bittersweet. Newcastle this weekend will be facing off against Man United at 3 p.m. on Saturday. But before that, on Tuesday, November 28th, they tied against PSG in the Champions League. They had the lead in the 24th minute with a goal from Isaac, and then Mbappe, being himself, because he is amazing, tied it with added minutes with a PK, which it's bittersweet to give up something like that at the end when you've been leading the entire game. But, it happens. It's definitely one of those things that you hate to see it. But, you got to push that aside of you. You got to focus back on to regular season play. One thing that is pretty exciting, though, for Newcastle is Pope is in the running for the Castrol Save of the Month. The goal in question is his first half stop from Hernanzo Fernandez during United's 4-1 victory against Chelsea at St. James Park last weekend. So that's pretty cool. A little bit of a Newcastle news for you before we go into analysis of the Man United game. Now, going into this matchup this weekend, it is the 6th and the 7th seed in the Premier League standings facing off against each other. Man United is in 6th, Newcastle is in 7th. Only one point separates them. Man United has 24, Newcastle has 23. So if they tied it, it'll probably be the same, depending on how the other scores, rally out towards the end. But it is important for Newcastle to secure a win here. Newcastle is ranked second in goals per match in the Premier League. Man United is currently ranked 12th in goals scored per match. It's going to be imperative that we see these players step up and get in to get those chances. It's nice that we have a lot of the players that were injured, like Almiron and Trippier, back to help create those chances and get in there. But we have to capitalize. We have to control the game and do what we need to do. So I'm a little nervous for this game because, I don't know. I just have a weird feeling about it. And normally when I have a feeling about it, it's rough. But I will say the one thing that is getting me through it, Newcastle has won the 2 previous times that we have played against Man United, and we are also playing at home. So it'll be nice to get to play in front of home fans and, get to do all that stuff. So I will be tuning in this weekend to watch that. I'm very excited, and I hope you all are too. So I hope you enjoyed my little rant about Newcastle. It's not much to tell. It's just me ranting about things that we could do better. But that's all I have for Newcastle, so I will go ahead and pass it back to John to bring it back to, something that doesn't involve Newcastle talk.
All right, that sets us up for the weekend and the Christmas side dishes. What's on the table as we go forward here, and it is 5 and 5 as we start to have schedule compression. So it's going to be a very, very busy week coming up over the next 7 days. So let's see what we can do here and kind of lay out the week because there's a lot that's going to go on. 2 matches in about a 5-day period for some. So here we go. On Saturday, 5 matches. Sunday, 5 matches. Tuesday, 2 matches. Wednesday, 6 matches. Thursday, 2 matches. That gets us to where we are. All right, so here we go. And cue. Arsenal, big favorite, 10 o'clock, 3 matches, big favorite at a minus 370 with Wolves visiting. Brentford a minus 208 with Luton Town visiting. Burnley, a favorite at home against Sheffield United at a minus 119. 12:30, Nottingham Forest and Everton. Everton, a favorite on the road at a plus 163. Nottingham Forest, a plus 181. Late game, 3 o'clock, Newcastle and Manchester United. Newcastle, a minus 105. 90-minute draw and Manchester United both around plus 285. Sunday, 4 matches at 9 o'clock. Villa on the road at the Vitality at a plus 104 against Bournemouth. Chelsea, a minus 130 at home at Stamford Bridge against Brighton, a plus 333. Liverpool, minus 370 with Fulham coming to town at a plus 950. West Ham, plus 106 at their home stadium, going up against Crystal Palace at the London Stadium at a plus 278. Late game on Sunday, 11:30, Spurs going to the Etihad, Manchester City, a minus 345. Spurs, a plus 877. Tuesday, Wolves, minus 118 at the Molineux, hosting Burnley at a plus 332. Luton Town at 315, hosting Arsenal at a minus 345. Luton Town at a plus 944 in the composite, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal. Wednesday, 6 matches, 4 at 2:30. Brighton, a minus 109, hosting Brentford at the Amex. Crystal Palace, a plus 110 at Selhurst Park, hosting Bournemouth. Fulham, a plus 112, hosting Nottingham Forest at Craven Cottage. Sheffield United, a big underdog at a plus 914, hosting Liverpool at a minus 370. 315, Manchester City at a minus 137, visiting Aston Villa at a plus 342. Manchester United hosting Chelsea at a plus 154. Chelsea is a plus 167. Thursday, 2 matches, 2:30. Everton at a plus 181, hosting Newcastle at a plus 150. And Spurs hosting West Ham at a minus 127. West Ham is a plus 316. 2-match week. It's a double match week. Get your fantasy teams squared away appropriately, because that's the chaos that we have here in the Premier League. Thanks to Maddie. Thanks to Drew. Thanks to the 3D. Thanks to Cruising. Thanks to you for hanging out with us as we get ready for a double match week here in the Prem. It's another round of Prem and Proper. Play it safe, everybody. We'll catch up with you next time.